DJ Crumble on the beat. There we go. Sorry, actually sorry. I think everything should be working now. Let me know if you can see me properly. I was having some technical difficulties with my laptop because I don't have two monitors, so I have a laptop sitting next to me so that I can actually read the chat. And hello, Lore Maiden and other folks who are here already hanging out with me. It's nice to see you guys. Okay, so what's up, Molly? Welcome to first cosplay stream for you. It was a pretty good day today. I am ready to start working on stuff for, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, stuff for Arwen, which includes this lovely design that I started working on. I'm actually going to start over, just because I want to show from the beginning what I'm up to. This is Adobe Illustrator, and I have opened a file that I've named Live Mirror Template, and I actually need to save this. Now save as Arwen stuff. So this is the buckle that appears on the front of Arwen's dress. Where was it? I've got a reference image right here that shows. Hey, Projared just subscribed. Thanks. Hey everybody. Now that I'm checking in on the chat again, thank you guys for showing up and hanging out with me. So this is the thing that we're working on. This is a really close-up picture of the Sideshow Collectibles statue. It has a lot of really cool detail in it, and so they make really good reference images. But anyway, this is a drawing based off of that. And it's somebody else's drawing. I think this might be one of the official drawings, but basically I have prepared the image. I've got it totally like squared up as close as possible, and I've imported it as a template and placed it into my live mirror template, and I'm going to show you what that is. So this is not an automatic function of Illustrator, but this is something that's pretty easy to set up if you need to do this. You can just Google search Live Mirror Template Illustrator and follow the instructions there, which is exactly how I did this. Thanks, Orange Crushed, for the, there we go. Sorry, I'm going to turn down this music slightly so that I can hear notifications better. But yeah, we are listening to Radio Cutman, and you guys can see my entire desktop, so I'll try not to do anything wrong. Okay, we're going to be using the pen tool, which is here, to begin drawing over this. And what the live mirror template that I've set up does is it live mirrors what I'm doing. So I'm basically going to be plotting some lines out, and as I create each dot, as you can see, it is creating a symmetrical mirror image on the other side. And one of the reasons I'm doing it this way instead of tracing both sides is to save time. Oh, I need to go down the side of this leaf. That's what I decided. Pardon me. To save time, I don't want to do both halves individually. And as you'll notice as I begin tracing all of this out, but the drawing itself is not 100% symmetrical. The piece is supposed to be symmetrical, so I want a symmetrical shape and design, but this was drawn by hand by somebody, and it's not perfectly symmetrical. So one of the things I'm hoping to accomplish today is by drawing half of it, I'll have to make sure that I like weave the pieces all in properly around each other. But the idea is that it'll clean it up and be like truly symmetrical in a way that it's not currently. So I am using just my mouse. I'm not using a tablet or anything fancy to draw with. And I am creating the outline of these shapes and just using these anchor points to shape the lines. I don't want to walk through like every single step of this, because if you need to do this, then just look up pen tool on Google and you'll find like really detailed tutorials and things like that. But if anybody has questions, Miguel is asking, how do you do the mirror option in Illustrator? I had to actually follow a tutorial for that. So Google the words live mirror template Illustrator and just follow the instructions there. Sorry, that's kind of vague, but it's like kind of an involved process and you have to like set up all these different layers and stuff. But you can find that information very easily. I just don't have time to start there today, so I hope that's okay. But basically, here is part of this line that I've already drawn out. I want to keep manipulating it a little bit. And I can also make my template layer disappear if I want to just look at the lines themselves and say like, okay, this needs to just be smoother so that it looks better. You can also drag like individual little portions of the lines. But my goal is to be as true to the drawing as possible, but also just make it pretty. So I don't want to be like a slave to these lines and you know, not smoothing them out myself. So that's what we're up to. I actually think I'm going to continue from this point and try to do like whole shapes. So let's okay, that one is selected, so I should be able to continue. No, it's going to start a new one. Okay, continuing from there. So I'm trying to trace the outline of this like leaf shape, and I'm going to basically just say that it continues behind that shape. And then where does it go? I need to look at other references too. Oh, nice. What's up, Molly? You probably know more about Illustrator than I do. I have only recently begun using this, but I know a lot about Photoshop. And they're different programs with very different kind of principles behind them, if you guys are not familiar. So I'm still kind of finding my way around Illustrator and making sure that I know what I'm doing. I'm using my phone now to pull up another image of like another version of this shape. There you go. Red Bart is cool is asking, what are you thinking about using to make the belt buckle once I get the pattern figured out? I think I'm gonna sculpt it and then cast it, although all of these like interlocking layers may make that really difficult, so we'll see. It's my understanding, based on these reference images, yeah, I actually feel confident about this, that this line continues up in this direction and becomes a part of this. Now I'm actually going to deliberately space that away from the edge there, and then I'm going to clean it up when I go back and do the other side. So right now I'm just kind of plotting out points. I want to hit this guide, the center guide, when I can, I think, because it's going to be like a point of separation, more or less, between the two halves. And I'm basically going to try to even things out a little bit. Like in this original drawing, the shapes aren't completely smooth and they're kind of not evenly spaced, and so I'm kind of compromising. I'm kind of like trying to make points in the middle rather than being, yeah, I'm compromising. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make points, trying to place them where they fit and where they look best, rather than just trying to completely be 100%, like maintain 100% integrity to the original drawing. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to do too many things and it gets harder to concentrate, but that's okay. That's what you guys are probably used to from me streaming. So I've found that it's best to try to, when I click on an anchor point, these two handles come out and you can manipulate them individually. You can do one side at a time, but I found that it's best to try to do both at the same time unless you're creating an angle. Okay, now at this point I have to decide Now I'm gonna nudge this into position. Oops, I'm like on the wrong keyboard. I have this other computer sitting next to me. Okay. So I'm nudging that into a position where it overlaps. And then trying to make sure that these points are hidden. Like, or that they are connecting to the line underneath them, or that they will when we're done here. Okay. So this is a point where I wanted to create an angle and I began manipulating this two handle separately, but this is a point where I want this to not be an angle, I want it to be a smooth line. So by taking them both and not, it will automatically manipulate both of them the first time you click on that point. And then if I go back, like this is kind of a weird one, I can reset it by just clicking on the point again, draw them both out at the same time, and then now I can individually move them around now that they both exist. That's probably fine. And this is a guide for my sculpting, and so I'm still going to end up freehanding the sculpt as I go. Well, this is kind of like a template to help me plot out those shapes. But yeah, you'll see. You know what? I'm gonna do it all on stream, so you'll see it when I do it, and then I don't have to explain where it's going in advance, I hope. Zelda of Skyloft just subscribed. Thank you so much, Zelda. We're big Zelda fans here, a lot of us. And so part of my job right now is just like moving these points around and then moving the handles around to figure out what it needs to create the right shape. And I don't want to spend crazy amounts of time on this because I'm still going to end up freehand sculpting it, so. But this creates a symmetrical base, I hope, to figure out how to do that exactly and what I want that to look like before I start. Oops, that's not the correct point. Ah! Just gonna undo that. This is what I wanted. Here we go. So this will probably be a lot of me concentrating and moving little points around on the map, but you'll get to see a little bit of my process anyway. Are these not properly docked? No, they are. There we go. All right, and so now I'm doing both sides at once. This whole piece is one layer, and each individual path will become another separate layer. I don't like what this is doing down here. You can nudge them around with the arrow keys, which is partly what I'm doing, and then just kind of repositioning the shapes. So one thing I can do is turn the template off and look at it again, and especially look at the other side where the points aren't selected and ask myself, like, okay, is this smooth enough? Is this creating the shape that I really want and not does it look weird? And it's a little bit easier to see when the path is not directly selected, so I'm kind of looking at this side. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It's a little bit weird and shaky in here, so let's see about that. I think that's pretty good. I don't want to go overboard on this process to the point that I'm just drawing this out, but now I hate it, so now I have to keep working on it. That's probably fine. That's better. Okay, cool. Well, there's one section, and that's basically one continuous piece. The way that these are overlocked is asymmetrical, and I'm gonna have to be really careful when I'm actually sculpting this to make sure that all the layers are getting connected in the way that they're supposed to. Oh, Projared gifted a sub to Nilyu. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jared, and thank you, Nilyu, for being a subscriber now. You guys are cute. Okay, so now I'm gonna start a new path, I believe. Wait, no, here we go. So this is back to the regular pen tool. So the pen tool also exists in Photoshop. This is Illustrator. The difference between the two programs is that Photoshop works with pixels and Illustrator works with vectors. And if you don't know what those are, then the gist of it is that, what do I want? Well, I wanted to move that point, but I'm not going to mess with it. Oh, I want the direct selection tool. I'm still learning this myself. There we go. Now I've selected just that anchor point, and I can move it around. I just need to zoom in more. But the gist is that doing it in Illustrator, even though I'm using the same tool that I would otherwise in Photoshop, allows me to infinitely resize it. And so that's what matters. I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not an expert on this, but I try to give explanations for what I'm doing when I can, and so there's my relatively quick basic explanation. Here we go, and this one's gonna actually... And if you want to know more about this, then I would recommend going to a better resource than me. But at the very least, if you're watching the stream for fun, hopefully that isn't entirely confusing. It's just like really flat right here. I don't know how to make it more, to get more of the roundness that I'm going for. I'm probably overthinking it because I'm zoomed way too far in, but that looks fine. Use the smooth tool. I'm actually not familiar with the smooth tool, but I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing right now. And, you know, I will also eventually get better over time. Now I'm trying to figure out which path is intersecting. So I'm gonna go back to my other reference image. This other reference image that I'm looking at is someone else's metal version of the actual finished buckle. And so this is, I believe, a cast that was probably like sculpted and then cast in metal, or I don't know, maybe it was just welded together. I don't know that much about metalwork, but I'm using this as another reference because it's a little bit easier to understand which pieces fit together how. Okay, and it looks like this far, like the far side of this one is what is connected around to this other leaf that goes down to here. So we'll now start a new path from the bottom. And the lines are going to intersect. I'm trying to draw it out in a way that will allow me to more easily read which paths are connecting. So that's the goal. And I also want to continue to check other reference images because I'm kind of combining several different references and like looking at several different things. And this drawing is just one artist's interpretation. I'm going to make this a little bit more heart-shaped so I'm not totally staying true to the line there, but rather than connecting to this path, I'm going to draw right through it. Is my goal. And then, here we go, it'll connect straight across. I'm kind of plotting things that will be unseen below other pieces, so these lines might move quite a bit. I'll go through the center guide again. So this is the bottom of the line. In case my movements are hard to follow at this point, I just wanted to kind of give that explanation. Okay, and back to the guide. Boom. So taking back to my anchor point tool, this is gonna get messy. Everyone's chilling here. Smooth tool is under the pencil tool, but I recommend practicing. Yeah, I'll have to do that another time, basically. I'm going to try my best to not get too caught up in perfectionism right now because, like I said, I need to keep moving. Oh wait, I wanted to give this fake news, false alarm. I'm going to make this one a really, really short handle down there, and then use this one to try to smooth that out. Cool. Quite a bit. So even though I'm using someone else's drawing as a reference, basically, I'm also looking at other references and making changes, and I'm not just totally trusting their line placement. I'm looking at it with my own eyes and saying, well, you know, I kind of want this to be more heart-shaped overall, or I think that these lines need to be placed here, or whatever. So this is still my own interpretation, and as you can see, I'm working on this wing right here, and on the other side, it's not perfectly lined up, but it is perfectly symmetrical, and so that's what I want more so than the template. I want my own line art that is perfectly lined up. So that's what we're up to tonight. I am very excited about doing this Arwen costume. You know, Lord of the Rings is amazing. It's such a classic. And it is something that I've wanted to cosplay from for a long time. So, I'm really looking forward to making this a reality. I don't have like a really hard deadline for this costume. I think I'm gonna try to have it done by Fanime, because that'll be, I think, the next con that I'm going to that I think is realistic for the amount of time it will take me to finish it. But I'm ready to be Arwen. I am so ready to be all kinds of elvish princesses. Well, I don't know if she's technically a princess, but she's definitely the daughter of a leader. I don't know his exact title. Maybe one of you Tolkien experts can educate us. But she's awesome. Okay. Alright, and taking away my template again just to look at the shapes. This in here is really messy. I'm going to create a new anchor point on this path, right where it intersects with the guideline. Oh, and that grabbed both. That sucks. I don't want that. Zoom in. Okay, and I'm gonna make it off center. Oh no, that didn't grab both. That just is the two sides of it. Okay, I'm going to, this is the one I'm working on and this is the one I'm not. So these are where the two lines are intersecting. Did I create that anchor tool? I think I did. Or the anchor point. So there's anchors, that's an anchor point. So, okay, I can actually just straight up add one right at the guide where they intersect. Okay, and I did add an anchor point. I'm gonna delete the extra one that I made to the side. Nobody needs that. Okay. Back to here. That's what I want. So yeah, at this exact moment, I'm kind of just freehanding these lines because I don't love the way that they're drawn. I think they're kind of messy and crammed in there. And I want this to have like a sense of harmony and flow to it, which is, I think, like a big part of Arwen's design as far as what I've read from like kind of the principles and the way that they did the materials and the seams and how things intersect. So my goal right now is to just make these lines prettier, and they're not going to exactly match up the template that I'm drawing from, but it will hopefully look like it all works together. That's the goal. Okay, on this side, I want to give a little bit of space so that this same shape isn't like overlapping itself. Yeah. Okay, so those lines look a lot smoother in the way that they work with each other. And I'm going to turn this other layer back on. That's really hard to understand what's happening there, but most of that is unseen behind the other stuff, so let me zoom back out. It looks like a crazy mess right now. But it also looks like a crazy mess in the drawing. And I'm just gonna have to make sure that I'm very careful when I'm laying these shapes down to go in the right order and build them up properly. Okay, Serena has answers for us saying, Elrond is a lord, which would mean Arwen's title is lady, though she was also queen later on. That is correct. Okay. The one that I'm doing for Arwen is the chase dress that she wears in the very first scene of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, when she shows up to help Frodo. So it's like a gray dress. It's made out of gray suede. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments or anything here in the chat. I'm just checking out everybody's comments. So this is all one continuous shape. This is all a different continuous shape. And they look really hard to read together, but let's see what else we need. The shapes that we're missing are just this one that goes from the top to the bottom, and it looks like this one is just a single path there. So that's actually not too bad. It looks way messier than it is, but really it's only 4 separate paths, at least the way that I've visually divided it up. And it's really hard to like kind of understand how things are intersecting, but like I said, I think that that is just something I'm gonna have to pay really close attention to when I'm sculpting and not worry about it until then. And what is this line connected to? I don't know. Hi, no hands, no eyes. Welcome to our stream tonight. All right, new path. I don't want to start it directly on there. It's going to like create, oh, I guess it will create a new path, but it is just intersecting from there. So that's fine, that's what we want. I'm gonna intersect with the guideline. And then kind of imagine where that point would continue behind everything else. This is one of my favorite songs on this whole stream. All right, and back to my anchor point tool. Anyway, sometimes I cut or draw things digitally, like with my Silhouette Cameo. And so having the ability to make my own like clean digital files can be really important when I'm relying on a machine to you know, do a job for me. So this one is going to be hand sculpted, like I mentioned, and like ultimately, however true my final piece is to this drawing, it's just up to me and how nice I make it look. But depending on the project, like other parts of this will be drawn on my Silhouette Cameo. So yeah, I don't want to get too caught up on making this one totally flawless, but I will be putting a little bit more effort into the other one just to make sure that it is gonna look exactly how I want it to when I make this robot do my bidding and draw it onto the fabric. And I'll share with you a little bit more of what I mean by that in a little bit as soon as I get over to the second image. So there's just like a lot of rearranging, at least for me. And figuring out exactly where the shapes belong. Yeah, I do want to pretty much push that all the way into the corner. Alright, and finally our last path. Looking at them one by one. See, that looks easy to understand, and then you add this other one into the mix, and it's just like, what's happening right here? This one's... okay. Let's bring this back and do our last path. I should bring my keyboard back over here and not be trying to do things way over there. Oh, what are we listening to? We are listening to, I apologize, I'm going to drop the link in. This is lo-fi hip-hop video game music, and this is DJ Cutman. I just dropped a link into the chat. This is Illustrator, no hands, no eyes. You can use the pen tool the same way in Photoshop, but the difference is that this will create a vector which I can infinitely resize rather than just a... oh, I can connect these and make it all one path. I think I'm going to do that. Rather than just using the pixels in Photoshop. So, because I am using kind of lower res images to trace from, and because I don't know exactly what size they need to be in real life yet, I decided that Illustrator would be the easier way to go, and just give me more versatility with resizing without having to end up with like a really pixelated, gross looking outline. I'm not worried about adding any kind of surface detail to this. I'm only trying to create a clean outline because it's just for my sculpting purposes and helping me to understand the shapes and helping me to kind of cut them out in the size and way that I want. These do like overlap. Okay. And intersect it back with that path. Now I'm going to turn off the other paths again so that I have... which one am I working on? A cleaner view of what I'm trying to do. Oh, how to mirror the sides. Sorry. So Illustrator does not have a built-in live mirror template, or it doesn't have that function, and so I literally Googled live mirror template and followed a tutorial for how to set this up using guidelines, and it's like an automatic transform. Where are we? If I can figure it out. Or is it this one? I honestly don't remember. Like I said, you should look for a resource that's more reliable than me. I am just following my own tutorials that I found, or tutorials that I found by other people. So I'm not always full of the best explanations, but I'm going to give it my best to try. But yeah, this is these guidelines and this mirror function is something I set up through layers. And that's how you make it work this way. That's all I can tell you. So the second image that I have to work on tonight, as soon as I finish this one, is not mirrored. It is an asymmetrical design. So for that one, I'm just going to create a blank document, and it's not going to be live, like filling in the other half for me. How is this? What do I want from this? And when I'm done with these, I'm probably just going to release them for free download so that anybody can have their own. I'm not going to sell them. I've sold other patterns in the past, like I sold my Zelda patterns, but those were also based on my own like free drawings, and these are based on other people's drawings and like available reference images, so it wouldn't be right to sell them, so I'm not going to do that. But I will make them publicly available for free because I like to share when I can. And these are built on references that were provided by other people for free, and so I'm just going to keep kind of building on that and, you know, kind of continuing to contribute towards free information about how to make your own Arwen costume. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me tonight while I work on digital images. I know it's not as fascinating to see me working with my hands a lot of the time, and I'm also, I mean, honestly, less experienced with this, but I'm trying my best to, you know, do things well. And I'm not always an expert, but I will always show you what I'm doing. That's my philosophy anyway. I guess I can use two hands for this instead of sitting on one of my hands. Very literally. Okay. And I think that will just about do it. I'm going to pull back and look at it all again. See, this path makes sense by itself, and you can see how they'll be woven together. And then you throw all the other layers on there, it's just like, whoa, that looks crazy. But there we have it. This is my perfected outline of how I want it to look. Yeah, No Hands No Eyes is going to download it and cut it into a bunch of things using a laser. For what purpose? Who cares? When do we have to hammer something? Oh, that's a good question. Not tonight, but soon, I hope. I don't think I'm doing any part of this costume out of leather. I'm going to have to change that. We'll see. Alright, so this, I'm just going to save this one and move along. And we'll start from scratch. This is just another artboard that I've already created. We're going to go to File, Place, which is going to import or take us, you know, to our Arwen folder. And this is the sleeve design. This is the second thing I need to trace. So, boom, there it is. Oh, this artboard is actually not large enough. However, I think I need to size down my original image rather than sizing down, because this page that I opened up is like a regular, like a standard 8.5 by 11, and I'm because this design goes down her shoulder. Now, I don't need to have a perfect measurement because, like I mentioned, we're creating a vector and I can resize it however I please. But just to kind of like give myself a rough estimate, if I measure from the very top of my shoulder loosely to my elbow, above the elbow, but still, that's like not even 10 inches. And so my total image does not need to be any bigger than this. And I can continue to resize it if I want to. But I don't want to. I want it to fit on this page. So I actually needed to size it down. And there it is. This is a fresh layer. I'm going to create a new layer, but I'm going to turn this one to template mode, which is going to make it partly transparent. It said it's dimming it to 50%, which so that way it's not 100% visible, and it looks a little bit more faint. I'm glad that you like the stream music. I really, really like this artist, well, this channel, which is a couple different artists combined, but really nice tunes. So this is kind of a low-res image that I imported. I think I blew it up, and I probably blew it up too far, which is why it looked extra large when I opened it. No, this is what I want. Pen tool. So we're just going to start from the beginning and try to figure out how these lines intersect. Now this image was taken directly from the art book for the Lord of the Rings costume. So this was drawn by the costume designer for Arwen, the person who made up this outfit and what it looks like. And so I just want to copy the way that the lines intersect with each other as closely as I can. People are like, who are you? What did you do with the real Heidi? Because I'm not using leather in this. Oh, I need to change my settings. So I need to change it from fill. I don't know if this is under my face cam in the corner. I think it might be. But fill, I'm sorry, it needs to have 0 fill and a black stroke of 1 pixel. And that's what I'm drawing on now. Okay, so obviously Arwen is wearing suede, and I could do it out of real pig suede. The drawback to that would be that it would be a lot more uncomfortable to wear, it would be a lot heavier, and it would be a lot more expensive. And I also want to do some hand embroidery for the collar because I don't think I can find pre-made lace anymore. So with that in mind, I think that it is better for me to use like faux suede rather than real suede. And I know that I very, very rarely make that choice. So it probably sounds fake, like I'm not the real Heidi, but I'm trying to think about how it will feel to wear this costume. And I think that wearing fake suede will be a lot more comfortable than just being totally encased in leather. Because chances are I'm finishing this one in the summer. It'll still be long sleeved. If I'm in like moderate temperatures, it'll be warm enough. Because I live up north now. I don't want to deny myself good cold weather costumes too, because I need those more. But I still do a lot of travel. And if I wear this one at other conventions this summer, which I would like to, I don't want to die of heat stroke. So this one, my solution for this is probably going to actually be to make my silhouette cameo draw it onto the fabric. I was reading a couple of different people's blogs on how they made their own cosplays or how the costumes were made for the movie. And there seems to be a consensus that this emblem is drawn or painted onto Arwen's sleeve rather than being embroidered or beaded or something like that. It appears to be flat with no texture. So with that in mind, I can get my silhouette cameo to just straight up draw it for me. And I even have a pen for that already. And so I think that's going to be the best solution. And with that in mind, I really want these lines to be perfect because they are going to be drawn by machine. And the more perfect I can make them digitally, the more perfect they will look in real life. Rather than me spending a lot of time drawing this right now, but also still having to freehand it later. I'm not freehanding this later. This is the one and only version of this that I have to create. And then it will just magically be added to my fabric. So, well, except not by magic, but actually by science. by my robot slave. Okay, so I think some of these lines are going to get intersected, but still. Yes, a vinyl cutter can draw on fabric, but a lot of the time that's not what they're advertised for. But they do have pen attachments, so rather than cutting, it's just drawing, it's like going around drawing the design for you with an actual pen, and they have like different metallic colors. So I already have a silver pen that I can use to create this exact image exactly as I need it to. And I'm hoping I can just draw it straight onto the fabric and then just cut it out and work with it normally. But that is my goal. So I'm going to continue from this side. Someone else asked again what dress this is. This is going to be the Chase dress, which is the name of the gray dress that she wears when she first shows up in the first movie to help Frodo. So I think it will be really fun to make. I want to cosplay with some of my friends as other Lord of the Rings characters, and I'm really excited to wear this one. I was tweeting today about random cosplay related things and just kind of thinking about like what is and isn't worth my time like in the future, like what is the best way to like spend my energies in terms of like what I work on and what I choose for myself. Anyway, it was more of just rambling and not really coherent thoughts, but I was thinking about how it always feels way more worth it to me to work on something that like I've already loved for years, and therefore I know that I'll continue to love it for more years, like ideally, as opposed to like jumping on you know, a hot new show or a hot new trend of like what's popular this season. Which, don't get me wrong, like, I don't think that's selling out. I think that's just enjoying what's new, and a lot of people do that. But for me, it takes me so long to make things, and I get so detailed with it that it's like, I have to be really committed. I have to know that I'm going to want to wear that costume into the foreseeable future, and so I'm way more confident in making those cosplay decisions for characters like Zelda and Arwen that have like been important to me for many years, and I know that I will realistically want to continue portraying those characters, and if I make the costume once, I will, you know, hopefully continue wearing it for years to come. Cool. But everybody cosplays in different ways, and people choose, some people just love to churn out quick costumes that they can wear and like, you know, have fun yelling things at strangers at cons or whatever when you run into someone who's also, you know, cosplaying from a popular new series or whatever. But also, I feel like Lord of the Rings is one of those evergreen series where if you look around, you know, at a big enough convention, you'll almost always find at least someone who's cosplaying from Lord of the Rings, because it's just such an iconic series. It's just such a classic that someone at the con will probably be wearing a relevant costume. The pen tool definitely takes a little bit of getting used to when you're first figuring out how to do this kind of thing, but the principle is very simple still, and you can do a lot in terms of manipulating these lines to fit just about whatever curve you need, so it's a wonderful tool. I usually like to go around at least once and then like go around again to refine it. Because each point that you move like adjusts the lines on both sides, so it's generally not perfect the first time. You can also grab the lines themselves, but I feel like I have more control over the smoothness and like the general shape with the using the handles like this, so this feels a little bit more efficient for me. What's going on over here? Projared is Gimli. How tall is Jared? What? Who are you guys trying to get him to be? This is cool. Everyone's chatting about all of their Tolkien moments and stuff. Oh, Casual Vikings heading out. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. This is actually going surprisingly quickly. I'm sure that I'll end up like going back and being really picky about the individual line placement and curves before I actually draw it onto my fabric, but this is still, I'm really pleased by how efficient it is right now, at least. That one kind of just stops there. All right, well, there we have it. I'm gonna try to take a step back at this and see what needs changing. Oh, my mouse is like lagging. That was weird, sorry. So you can drag the path itself like this, but it's not really great for smoothing things out typically because it it affects both sides and it affects the curves on both sides. So you do get more control just using the handles, but it kind of takes a combination of tools sometimes to get it to be really nice and smooth. And as someone else was recommending to me, I guess there's a smoothing tool that I could just straight up be using, but I don't know how to do that. So next cosplay, I'll learn something new, I'm sure. Or maybe I'll end up doing that after the stream is over if I want to look at my tutorials. Cool. I'm sure I'll do like crazy fine refinements later, but I don't want to spend all stream touching up the same lines over and over again, so I'll do that on my own time. I guess I can continue this line going this way. We'll see, because there are some intersecting lines all in here. Okay. I guess that would be a good place to start. Okay, I'll go from over here. It doesn't really matter. Oops. You just have to have like a continuous line. There we go. So I'm picking it up from the same spot. And you can kind of break apart and connect these paths as well, like, as you keep going. Okay. But I want to treat each line as being continuous and then break it apart at the end and like get rid of any like unneeded overlaps, if that makes sense. The idea being that I want to create a sense of smoothness and continuity, and so if I'm stopping and starting with every new, twist in the line, then it's not going to look right. That's my theory anyway. Everyone's talking about which Lord of the Rings character they would cosplay. Please let me know in the chat. Yeah, I want to do so many characters. I remember I made a poll initially when I was trying to decide who I would cosplay as between Arwen and Galadriel, because I like both characters a lot. And I still feel like Galadriel is still a potential, another one that I would do, but one thing at a time. And I also have a Tauriel costume that is in progress. I actually didn't make it. It was made by someone else, and I need to post photos of it, but you'll see it. You'll see it. I wore it to Dragon Con last year, but only really, really briefly, and so it needs updates, and that's why I haven't shown much of it or talked much about it. But you'll see it when it's ready, and it'll be great, and I'll tell you all about it then. But basically, that's another collaborative project where someone else made the costume, and someone else, is providing props and photos and all of that. So I'm just excited to be there. I'm just excited to do more Lord of the Rings cosplay, even though Tauriel is just a Hobbit movie character. I still really like her. I think that she added something nice to those movies, even though they were not my favorite compared to the original trilogy. Cool. We're back to the start of this line. Cool. Maker Geek is gonna do a CNC plasma cutter. Well, gonna make Sting the sword out of spring steel, which is really cool. Having to do that on a CNC plasma cutter, that sounds like really hardcore. I've seen those in action, not in person, but in videos and other people's stuff. That's pretty badass. I've never done any real metalworking. I just fake it. I just make things look like metal. Dinner time, Pink Girl's heading out. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Hero Legend would cosplay as Shadowfax. Oh, and I haven't heard before. Anyway, I've been intending to start Arwen for some time now, and it's really satisfying to finally be doing literally anything. I did spend time last night finding fabric swatches, which is just like searching different websites and trying to find the color and the style of the fabric that I need, and buying samples. So I have a couple different samples that will be coming in soon for Arwen fabrics. I guess I probably don't need that one. What are my shortcuts here? Shift C. I also never learned shortcuts. That's nice that they have them like more so in the Shift C. There we go. In the menu, sorry. I'm like never finishing my sentences when I'm working on something that requires a lot of concentration. I guess this is probably a faster way to get started. It's easier to refine them with the anchor points, in my opinion. I probably don't need so many here. But I do need that one. that? Big Jonah 21 said came to Twitch for Projared, stayed for Heidi. Well, thank you so much. Let's see. Everyone's chatting about their favorite remakes and progress. I don't have that many opinions about a lot of those series that you guys are talking about now, but yeah, I think I just do need another anchor point. It really depends on like how much variation there is in the curve. And making sure that they're like evenly spaced, not like perfectly evenly spaced, but like spaced strategically in such a way that you are able to connect them as you need. I like dragging the line sometimes to get started, but if you don't, like depending on what your curve is trying to be, sometimes it makes your anchor points into weird angles, like this one. And then you have to, then I have to, in my opinion, go back and readjust that anyway. And that's one of the reasons why I gravitate towards just using the anchor points to create the path anyway. More so than grabbing the line. But I guess it's just a matter of like personal efficiency, like whatever is a better use of your time. But I feel like I get smoother results and fewer like angles when I'm just grabbing the anchor points themselves. I'm gonna get rid of one of these and move this one. Looking at my lines again, this one is like a weird angle again. Maybe that one just didn't get messed with. That's actually not bad to have it kind of make more of a soft point there. Anyway, for me it's easier to refine the lines when I'm not looking at the template, which seems counterintuitive, but it's like I just feel like I end up with more control. That was not what I wanted. Sometimes my mouse like bugs out a little bit. I'm just trying to center this one a little bit better. Okay, and I need to do something about these little guys down here, which is going to be a new path. I think I'm going to treat them like a little bit of a teardrop shape. I'm going to try to make them a little bit wider at the bottom. And these will not be straight up triangles. Give me a moment. Here we go. I could adjust the opacity, you're right, but I prefer to just turn it all the way off. Like, it's just easier for me. I don't know. This is certainly not the only way to do things. This might not even be the correct way to do things, but I'm just showing you what I'm comfortable doing, what I like doing, and so that's that. Yeah, that kind of shape is more what I'm gonna go for. And still keep it small. Oops. The mouse was freaking out slightly. That one's like turned. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me tonight while I just like concentrate. Sorry if this isn't riveting. I feel like I've been having a lot of streams like that lately, but you know, I got stuff to do. I'm just trying to get my cosplays made, you know what I mean? Alright. that'll do for now. I really want to just get to a point where I'm at a good overview, even if I'm not 100% refining everything tonight. So that's where we are at. And I'm gonna create a new path and start it right here. So yeah, I'm once again kind of ignoring where I know these lines will intersect, and I just want to create long paths that will allow me to make this shape. Oh, this is like the Wii menu music. I like made a remix of it. It's good. Good shit. Oh, my path didn't start at the right spot. Oops. Well that's fine. I don't want to get too far into this one right now, because I'm going to have a lot of intersecting lines. Okay, so I'm going to take a break in this one. I'm going to go back to the beginning and connect it back up to the top, because I didn't click on that initial path to connect it properly the first time. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to not having to draw this in real life and just making my Cameo do that job for me. That's gonna make this a whole lot more bearable. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to figure out with the way that these curves all intersect and flow into each other. It can be difficult to find exactly where like the ideal placement is. And avoid getting weird angles and stuff. There we go. I like that a lot better. Alright, we're getting there. Thank you guys for keeping me company. Yes, this is the chase dress. Yeah. And Jared does occasionally cosplay, but not a lot. No hands, no eyes is lurking. Well, thank you guys for chilling with me. Like I said, I know this isn't riveting, but it's nice for me to still have some company. Yeah, I'll probably have to just end up putting more anchor points in there because I'm struggling to get the lines smooth and continue through hitting all the points that I need. So sometimes you just need to add more anchor points. Reposition the ones that you've got. Oops. That was not what I wanted though. Oh, I guess I never really refined up here either. Oops. That was also not what I wanted. Hey, what was that? Bob Samurai just subscribed with a tier 1 sub. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Vardana. This is... I'm not going to end up doing embroidery because most of the references that I found said that it's not embroidery, that it's like very much a flat, non-textured design. So I'm going to use my silhouette Cameo to just draw this on with the silver pen function because that's what it looks like, you know, according to a number of other blogs as well. And that's what I think it looks like, so that's how I'm going to do it. But I'm sure it would be beautiful as embroidery. I just also don't want to do that. I got other stuff to do. I'm gonna probably end up embroidering the lace along the top because the stuff that was commercially available before is no longer. So I don't want to continue to do more hand embroidery than is necessary for this. That works. So in here is where I stopped. Anyway, anybody want to tell me a story and keep me occupied? It's harder for me to talk when I'm doing stuff on the computer, I've realized, because my brain is fully engaged. I mean, it's hard for me to talk while streaming at all, but I do my best. continues back up. There's so much going on in this design. My preliminary plot points here probably seem kind of crazy. How is that connected? Alright, I'm gonna stop there for now. But I can pick up and continue at any point. Okay. Anyway, oh, I replenished my stream wish list with a lot of cheaper items, because for a long time I didn't have a lot of stuff to put on it that was like really necessary, but now that I've started a new project, I did like kind of switch out what was on the list. So for a while there, it was kind of more expensive items that had been left over from other streams and stuff. And it was all less urgent things. But now I have a variety of Arwen related materials there. So that's why I'm mentioning it, is because I have actually begun collecting materials for Arwen finally, after making lots and lots of shopping lists. And so there's stuff on there that's like $1 or whatever, and you know, $2 or $3 each. So if anyone feels like contributing to the making of this costume, that is a good way to do it. And now there are like really small dollar items on there, at least some. So I'm gonna try to continue doing that for whatever our stream projects is, and this will be like my next ongoing project that will last me, I don't know, however long it takes me to finish making this whole costume on stream, but you'll get to see most of it, if not every little bit of it, because that's how I do things. I want this to be less sharp. There we go. Anyway, this is my new favorite playlist as well, because I've been using like my own Game Chops DJ Cutman kind of mix, and now have switched that out in favor of the like official Game Chop stream is what we're listening to, or the Radio Cutman is actually technically what it's called. And I linked to that earlier, but if you missed it, you can just do a quick Google or YouTube search actually for Radio Cutman, and you'll find this exact stream that we're listening to. And this is like my new favorite chill station to just jam on while I'm working on things, whether I'm streaming or not. And it's been really awesome. It seems a little awkward, but I'm gonna have to revisit that in a bit. I've got all the bottom of this image, just looking at it again. Out. Awesome, so we're closing in on this. We're gradually wrapping things up. Hey, there's something. Yes, people are. Oh, there we go. Well, thank you, Alice of Carol, for the embroidery floss. That is one of the colors that I need to. Oh, there's a polite raid. I'm sorry, I missed it. What have I got in here? Hey there, declarations. Cool, but yes, it's gonna be Cameo traced. All right. Okay, so from here I need to decide which lines are going together. I think this one actually continues. I'm gonna remove this anchor point and start from the last. I'm gonna basically have this be a one continuous line and then I'll erase where it gets overlapped with the other one. So I'm just gonna like smooth out that shape, basically. Aw, thank you, declarations. Appreciate it. And A just got another embroidery floss. Well, thank you guys very much for contributing. Every little bit helps because all of this stuff adds up very quickly. So thank you for being here and chilling with me and supporting the project. There's just a bunch of really weird intersections in here, but I'll clean it up and make it look good. Is that another one? I think it's taking a moment. Okay, yes, there's the Alice of Carol. Thank you. And so that's the last embroidery floss. Well, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. There we go. These curly shapes are just a huge pain in the butt. We're nearly there, we're so close. It's just getting more and more chaotic. And there we go, I just connected it to the other line, so that'll be fine. Getting close, guys. Alice of Carol says, my cats would like to pass along a message of hi to Aries. Thank you, Alice. I will let Aries know. If you can tell me what your cats' names are, I'll let you know who, I didn't read that name. I'm sorry. I'm going to pull up Streamlabs. Filamentus donated the Arwen leggings. So thank you so much, Filamentus, saying, yay, I'm helping. And I appreciate that. You are helping. You're helping quite a bit. Thanks for enabling my art and my streams. I know I've missed a couple streams lately. Hoping to get back on track with this and hoping to do increasingly more interesting things as well. Yeah, it's been kind of a weird week, or rather I've had like some weird, it's like always strange in between conventions and in between deadlines where I like know I should be doing things, but it's harder to make myself do the streams and all of that. But thank you guys for coming back anyway and sticking around and returning for this stuff. Tracing is the most fun thing of making a costume. I disagree. What was that? Tariel's necklace. See Akiva, did I say that correctly? I'm gonna look at my Streamlabs again. There we go. Yes! See Akiva donated $10, which was the Tariel necklace, saying, love your cosplay, keep making amazing things out for us to geek out over. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I absolutely will. I'm gonna do my best to keep maintaining this stream schedule and stick to my goals here, but I need to get this little piece. I'm like halfway talking to myself, as usual. But thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to have support from people here and just company with me while I'm working. Oops. You have to pull them in the correct direction. Like, the handles travel in the same direction that you were going whenever you laid down the path. So if you pull it in the wrong direction, you end up getting the line all twisted around. I do like using the pen tool. It's kind of like weirdly therapeutic to just sit here and make all these lines smooth, but it can be really, what's the word? Like, it's meticulous, but it's, can be frustrating. That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't know. Maybe you guys know what word I'm trying to say, which is, it's time consuming and it requires your attention, but it's not actually hard. So at least there's that. Okay, so this needs to be another path, or a branching path. There's just so many. I like didn't accept that. Okay, going in this direction first. There we go. Unfortunately, I won't be wearing this one to SoccerCon, but I will be working on SoccerCon stuff really soon. SoccerCon is right around the corner for me, and I'm not wearing anything new there, so that's why I'm more focused on this right now. But I'm just gonna wear my same Twilight Princess Zelda costume with the bow, and so that's exciting. And what else did I decide on? Oh, I do have one like new-ish costume. I gotta make sure I have time to do that before I announce it, but I would try to throw together like a super quick casual costume. Okay, I've got a little bit more to do up here, but otherwise I'm getting really, really close. Tedious, I think that is the word I was looking for. Alice of Carol's cats are Persian cats named Dougie, Leo, and Elise. Those are cute names. Piano Sammy is heading out. Well, good night, Piano Sammy. It probably won't be going for too much longer, but we're almost there. I've got this much shape to add and then probably some refining to do before I call it quits. There is another missing line over here that I will connect. Kind of hard to see what's supposed to be going on here, but it looks like there's a little, like, ball, whatever. We will have to potentially simplify some things, but I think it'll be good. I also need to check to make sure that my pen, like a pen on my Cameo tool, can and will draw this at whatever resolution it needs to be at, like whether it needs to be somewhat simplified just to gradually make things work. So my night vision has turned on my monitor. I'm looking at the stream. I'm also realizing now that I'm looking at my stream that this aspect ratio is very, very slightly off. And I don't know exactly what's causing that, but what you guys are seeing is very slightly vertically squished compared to what I'm seeing. So just bear that in mind in case this looks odd to you. I promise that it looks normal to me. And it might just be a weird discrepancy with how the camera or like the desktop capture is set up for my OBS. So anyway, just like so my screen's looking real yellow right now, but it doesn't seem like that's, it seems like that's a monitor setting only and it's not a part of what is being captured. undo that. So that's nice. Hell yeah, I'll take it. Undo. Okay. I'll start my line over here. New path here. That's what I wanted. Alright, those will just be like overlapping each other, I guess. I think this is the last section that I have to work on, although it needs quite a bit of refining. I might experiment with using that smoothing tool that someone was talking about here, and so that might, those type of refinements will probably continue off after the stream. But I think I'm almost done with what I'm streaming tonight, which is just to show you how this part gets done. What do I got over here? My night vision turned on. Yes, that's the night vision, like the night settings on my monitor. That's what I meant. Have I made peace, so to speak, with the Cameo? I haven't used it since the last time I used it for Zelda, which was when I was frustrated with it. But it did do the job then. Like, it definitely did the thing that I needed it to, even though I was angry with it for a time. So I would say yes, I have made peace with it. Some things here. I'm gonna add another anchor point just so I can have a more smooth section here. Oops, it's not what I wanted. That is what I wanted. The same. Okay, so I accidentally added 2 anchor points when I wanted 1. So back to my other tool. Ugh, not that. I will eventually get this right. What was that? Big Jonah is heading out. Well, thank you. Oh, hey, thank you so much. I'm gonna have to pull up my Streamlabs again. Oh, I think it's on this side. I'll just pull it up here. See Akiva donated $20, which was the sculpting kit, saying, here you go, I think everyone should have these, they're so useful, and considering I never pronounced my own username the same way twice, I'd say you pronounced it right. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the contribution and for the sculpting tools. I am planning to use those sculpting tools to make, not this thing, but the buckle that we were just working on. So that should be a future upcoming stream very, very soon, I think. I'm not quite happy with the position of this anchor point. I just moved it like in a complete circle. See, when it gets to these points where you have to like do like tons and tons of changes to get it to move to where you want, I want to just add more points because it's not worth it to keep struggling to keep the lines smooth, but also keep them in the right spots. So I'd rather just add an anchor point, and then it automatically splits the difference for you. And then you can refine it with the handles to get the like real true shape that you need. Alright, now let's see what else is going on up here. This path needs to travel pretty much directly through the other point for it to look right. Okay, sorry. You see no yellowing, said Big Jenna. Okay, on the topic of elves, I'm going to be 3D modeling and texturing an ancient elven monastery in college over the next 3 months. That's cool. That sounds awesome. Oh, hi, Travelsome. Welcome. I can also use this direct point selection tool to nudge without having to start over with the line shape. But anyway, yeah. This is what I want. Oh, because I'm using the wrong tool. I'm like, why is this selecting both handles at once? Okay. Because I'm getting tired and I'm not paying attention the same way anymore. Okay. Alright, let's take another look at what we've got here. I never saved it? Oh gosh. Okay, good, great, awesome. These things have like auto backups though these days, so. Here's a look at the entire design. Now let's see if we missed anything. That looks like it. That's it. Save, always save. I'm sorry, Travelsome. I don't want to let you down. Like I said, what you're viewing is just barely squished, and I'm not entirely certain why, but that's what it is. And so imagine that it's the exact same design, but it's just like the top is a little bit more perfectly circular. And as far as I could tell, that's pretty much it. I do need to go back and like erase some of the intersecting lines where things are overlapping right now, like up in here. You can see the straight up overlaps. I'm basically going to create some more anchor points and then make it all fit together. But that is the goal. There's the template that I started with, and there is my lines, and that's it. Where does this go in the cosplay? Asks Travelsome. It belongs on the sleeve. Let's see if I can. No, I don't have good reference photos of that yet. What was that? Tian SG subscribed for 6 months in a row. Thank you so much. Anna's heading to bed. Thank you for chilling with us tonight. I have my handy collection of... Oh, my phone is all dirty. So this is what the dress itself looks like. Hopefully you can see that. I know my phone is probably has a glare from this light. Here's one where you can see the way that it's etched on, I hope. There's just like a, well, my phone is buzzing. I don't know what that message was. You can see it a little bit, but it's just on the side of the sleeve. And yeah, that's how it goes. I guess the lines are kind of all interacting and intersecting with each other. Well, I'll just make it look good like the reference image, and that'll be fine. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and chatting with me and just keeping me company while I did this, because I'm sure I would have gotten bored and stopped like halfway through if I were doing this on solely my own time. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the support throughout this stream. And See Akiva, it looks like I got the stream total, the top donator. So thank you so much for the support and the items that are all going directly to this Arwen cosplay, and you will see all of that stuff like right away, because I think I'm going to start sculpting soon if I can. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Saturday is my usual stream time, but I am going to go visit the cherry blossoms most likely on Saturday, so I might need to push that to Sunday or Friday. I'll give an update tweet about that. If you want to be part of the next stream, probably will not happen at the usual time on Saturday, but it might happen Saturday evening or another day. And I'll let you know when exactly that's going to happen. Okay, well, on that note, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining me, and I'm looking forward to making the rest of this Arwen costume with you, so... one thing at a time. Alright, I am pulling up my disappearing window, and... goodbye!